Trackwrestling.com here inside Huff Hall. Mark Perry, coach here at Illinois. You guys wrap it up with a win over Indiana today. This is an interesting team to be, Mark. I mean, you look at guys like Isaiah Martinez, Zane Richards, they're proven. Then you look at guys like Langendorfer, Brunson, Brooks Black. You guys got some guys that could do it. We'll see how it plays out. What is most critical the next 5 weeks in making sure those guys get to where they got to go?
I mean, 100%. It's the preparation. You know, when you get into the season, it gets hard. You know, wrestling's hard. We all know that, you know. And right now, we're doing pretty well. We're pretty healthy. We're actually very healthy heading into the postseason. And now we have to iron out the kinks and put in the work, you know. And work is different for every single guy. You know, every single guy, some of them it's the endurance, some of it's the skill level, some of them it's several things, some of them it's outside. But we have to get dialed in. And like you said, we have, I think, like 7, 8 guys maybe ranked in the top 20, like 4 or 5 of them in that 12 to 8 to 10 range. You know, if we can make something happen at the national championship with that group of guys, we could have a really, really surprising national tournament. Not really surprising for us because this effort has been consistent since the Midlands. To put it like, we're a little pissed after the Midlands, you know, came back and you know, made some adjustments with some stuff. And these guys, as a whole, have fought hard. You know, hard the whole year. You know, a couple times we've been a little bit outmatched, and even in those matches, we had the opportunity. We stunned them, but when we stunned them, we didn't take advantage of it. You know, so I like this group of guys. You know, it's just about getting them to hit on all cylinders when it matters most.
You're a pretty philosophical guy. I always like talking wrestling with you. What are things you're looking for, Mark, when you are looking for weakness? From both your guys and your guys and your competitors. What are you looking for?
There's a lot of things I'm looking for, you know, and there's a lot of things that I notice. You know, there's a lot of things I see that even in the I guess the negative moments or you know, the other night, don't feel real good about that. Couple things, you know, go this way. Probably a lot more competitive meet and more entertaining meet, more important than for the fans on our part. But I don't know. That's kind of a secret. You know, there's a ton of stuff. You know, there's a ton of things.
Can you give us one or two?
I've seen, you know, matches where kids have gotten tech-fauled in the past. I've coached, and I noticed something, and we take advantage of it, and the next match you're getting your hand raised. You know, so there's a lot. This is a one-on-one sport, combat, however you want to look at it. There's a lot more variables that go into this than just the wrestling aspect. Obviously the mental side, but you know, technical, everything. I mean, I look for it all. You have to. Why wouldn't you? You know, that's the thing for me is, who the hell wants to compete for 10th or 9th or 8th or 7th or 6th or 5th or 4th? You compete to be the best. And whether it's Isaiah that's number 1 or this guy, you know, from this school that's ranked number 1 in the country, it's not that the respect isn't there, but they're vulnerable. We're all vulnerable. And the people that don't, when they start believing they're not vulnerable, that's when they're most vulnerable. You know, so I just look for the holes. I try to find the hole that guy has, and then we got to exploit it, and then you got to, you know, look to stun them, and then boom, 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 stun them 3, 4, 5 more times in there, and then see how they handle it. You know, see how they handle it. But it doesn't matter if you got a kid that has a losing record or he's 30-0. When you go to the postseason, it's a different ball game. And I was successful as an athlete, and my brother was successful. I've had pretty good success assisting other head coaches, you know, and I feel good. You know, I feel good about where we're going into the postseason.
What are some of the common denominators between guys that get it done and stand atop that podium at the NCAAs?
I mean, obviously the number 1 is the preparation, and there's different ways of prepping. Everyone kind of has their own little philosophy, but you know, the preparation and the self-belief. I think, you know, today with media attention, which is great for wrestling, we need more and more and more of it, but at the end of the day, it's coach and athlete, there has to be a bond and a connection that nothing affects you outside of, make your world a little bit simpler, a little bit smaller, this time of year, and focus on what you can do and understanding every aspect of the game, your opponents. You're prepared for anything, everything. Bring it, and it's wrestling, it's combat. Let's scrap, let's go. Enjoying that moment. A lot of these guys will tighten up. A lot of these top guys will tighten up. A lot of these younger guys, and they can try to convince themselves all they want. But when it's prime time, you're either an elite competitor, or just another competitor. And everybody's different, like I said.
Where's Isiah at? Where do you see him at in his process for a third national title?
Honestly, this has been a different schedule for him. Going up a weight, going down. A lot of people said, on our inner circle, we're a little worried about him going down to 54, in November, and then back up 2 weeks later wrestling with, at 65 against, really good wrestlers. Where he trained extremely hard for that trials, and there was a letdown at the trials, and it was more of a letdown on, again, I'll put it on myself, or he'll probably put it on himself, but it wasn't the match. It was kind of the focus in between match, 2 and 3. And since moving forward from there, his training has been, not to the push that it was getting ready for that. Letting him just kind of enjoy more being up weight, being happy, being a leader, and just getting in a groove. We want to win now, so now's the time that we'll do that Rocky mode training, and he'll be a different animal. Come to the Big Ten and NCAA tournament than these guys felt first time around. I kept it a little bit lighter this year, because here's the thing, he's getting to that point in his career. He wants to be one of the best on the planet, where there's really no off season. If he wants to, rewrite the wrong, which we need to, it's time to, after, taking care of business in the next month, get ready for the next stage of your career. So I think we're getting a little bit, smarter and working towards, working around him kind of deal. And a kid like that deserves that, I feel like. It is a team aspect, but he's a unique individual, and for this university and for our country, I feel like Coach Heffernan and our staff has done the right things, to make sure he's in position to accomplish his goals collegiately and, once college is done.
133 at the Big Tens ought to be a lot of fun into the NCAA championships. Of course, you guys with Zane Richards, Nathan Tomasello of Ohio State, Corey Clark, Iowa, Eric Montoya, Nebraska. What do you see as the keys to that weight class playing itself out?
It's going to definitely be probably the most talent-packed weight class at the Big Ten. Or I don't thinking off the top of my head, probably as far as depth.
133, 184.
Those are killers, and you got to throw in stuff on Michi in there too,
Sure,
young talented
absolutely.
Guys. Haven't got to watch him a whole lot this year, the Minnesota kid, but I know he's a fighter, and I know he loves to scrap. So there's a lot of good guys. The Big Ten, it's the SEC in football, times 10. I feel like, so every opponent's tough, but.
For Zane to have success, what'll be the biggest keys for him?
Just wrestle and control, be a little bit more prepared in certain situations, and when it's time, make it happen, make it happen. I don't really care what the seeds are, and I know he does, and this is not probably the greatest motivation coming from a coach, but I'm not too focused on the Big Ten championships. You win the Big Ten championships, you don't take care of business 2 weeks later, who cares? It's just another opportunity to prepare for what matters, and that's whatever fight night, competition night, on March 17th, 18th, 19th, I think, something like that. It's a great. And that's not just for us. That's for every team, every individual that is in that conference or any conference. Is you want to get it done. You want to be hitting on all cylinders, and then the elite of the elite, the greats, will perform even better, than the following 10 days later. So I'm excited for Zane and all those competitors at that weight class. Hopefully they get after each other, and for us, we just can't let it become so strategic. We can't let it come strategic where they're looking for this hole and this hole, and there's a lot of things that we can do in preparation, whether it's the 1 seed, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seed, where we can make sure that doesn't happen. But you can do that preparation, but when we shake hands, he's got to make it happen, and I'm confident he will. We're confident as a staff that he will, and if not, we got one more shot 10 days later to really make sure it goes our way.
Fun to catch up, Mark. Thanks a lot.
Yep, thank you.